You are tuned into the Dr. Tina Show with Dr. Tina Moore. For more, visit drtina.com. On this episode of the Dr. Tina Show, I'm going to be sharing with you what the heck has been going on with my Instagram account these past few weeks and what I think may be happening and just some insight as to what's happening in the industry. So without further ado, let's jump in. All right, you guys. So on September 1st, I woke up, it was a Sunday, and I was getting ready to go to brunch with my mom and daughter, which we do like every other week. And I hadn't seen them in a long time because I've been traveling so much going around to all these podcasts. So I'm getting ready and I sit down at my vanity and I open up my phone and it says this, I open up Instagram and this pop-up pops up and says, your account has been suspended. And I immediately panicked, which I don't normally do. I'm usually very calm in situations like this, but I knew this wasn't good. And I do have some uncanny ability of clairvoyance, and I know when things are bad, and this was particularly bad. And so I was given the ability to click a button that says appeal, which I did. And it said, thank you, your appeal will be noted. There was nothing to fill in. There was nothing to dispute. There were no warnings on my account. There was no dings on my account. 3 days prior, I had checked my account status. It was in good standing. It had all the green check marks. Everything was good. I had said nothing egregious. I wasn't talking about anything controversial. I wasn't talking about anything that is foreboding. And I just knew when I saw it. I've been here before. I don't know if you guys remember, if you've been with me that long, but in 2021, a few months after I was on RFK's podcast, I was deplatformed from Instagram as well. No warning, no dings, no nothing, no videos that had been taken down, nothing. And I got that account back 2 weeks later. And in this case, about an hour after I hit that appeal button, maybe it was shorter. I don't know. It was all just a big time warp. I tried to log back in and it said your account has been disabled and there is no further action to be taken. Your content will be deleted. You can't appeal this. So that was crazy. And needless to say, here's what I did. I don't have any special advice for any of you except to be tenacious. That's what I did. I reached out to every single friend I had and asked them if they knew somebody who they might be able to talk to, like what was going on, what the heck was going on here. This was crazy. Like I had specifically been super vanilla and super careful on all of my social media platforms because frankly, I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore. Like I don't want to talk about the stuff that I was talking about in 2020 and 2021. I'm not interested in talking about it anymore. We're over it. We're past it. If people are still hanging on to that, my best advice is you've got to learn to let it go because there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do about what happened. All we can do is stay healthy and vigilant and take good care of ourselves and hone our resilience, which has always been my message. That's always been the same message. More recently, I've been talking about GLP-1s and my experience with them and data that I found around them and unique ways that I was utilizing them. But I'm guessing that's foreboding now too. So in 2021, when I got it back after 2 weeks, I did appeal. There was an ability to fill out a form somewhere. That form does not exist anymore, by the way. And within a few hours, I had my account back. In this case, I just stayed the course. And every single morning I woke up and I reached out to 3 new people. I just told myself I was not going to give up until I had exhausted every resource I had. I called in every favor I had. I connected with every person that I had in my network that might have the ability to talk to somebody. Because I just wanted to know what happened, honestly. Like, even if I didn't get it back, I just needed to know, like, what did I do? Therefore, what am I not allowed to speak on anymore? But here's the super weird part. A few days in to the disabling of my account, I started a new account and it was up for 36 hours and it grew to 15,000 by the time I went to bed. And by the time I woke up, when I opened my Instagram thinking, I bet I made it to 20,000 because you guys are awesome and you guys rallied and you came in. I had emailed my list. I had shared out on my other Instagram account, the Dr. Tina Show. For this podcast, I have an Instagram account. It's a great account too. If you don't follow it, please go do Dr. Tina Show on Instagram. I woke up that morning and that account was taken down. So clearly I was the problem and I was being targeted and I really didn't understand why. So that was one of the main reasons I persisted in trying to find somebody that would talk to a human being and give me some information. I just wanted a human being to talk to me and tell me, what did I do? How can I avoid this in the future? What is the problem? Why is there clearly a permanent ban on my name? Not my Dr. Tina Show account and not my my other account, which is I have a meme account. It's pretty funny if you can find it. But why was I personally being targeted on this? And I have some ideas. I have some thoughts. I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to incorrectly speak about something. I don't want to be wrong about something and spread rumors. So I'm going to just stay the course. But this is where you need to find me. If you're watching this on YouTube, I probably can't speak as freely as I want to on here either, to be honest with you. It's all of these platforms have different rules and community guidelines that we have to abide by. And it's oftentimes difficult to figure out what those rules and guidelines are. If you get deplatformed without anyone telling you specifically what guidelines you broke or that the AI bots think you broke. So all that to say, I highly encourage you to get on my email list. If you're not on my email list, that's the one place that I own. I own that platform. I can speak freely there. Get on my email list. I'll keep you abreast of what's going on there. I will do my best to keep you abreast of what's going on the podcast. So far as if you're watching this on YouTube, we edit this stuff pretty heavily to, be okay for this platform. So the podcast itself stays true. The audio version that you listen to on, I don't know where you're listening to this, but that stays true. The video version gets edited often. So if you are a listener of the show on YouTube, you might want to go check out the audio version, I should say, because that's the part that's much less edited. Anyway, get on my email list. You can find it at drtina.com. There's a couple freebies there. You can grab my Assess Your Metabolic Health, which I think you should all check out. That is literally the international guidelines, diagnostic guidelines for metabolic syndrome. So you can download that. You can take it to your doctor and have a conversation with them. You can probably assess yourself from home if you have some recent lab work and a measuring tape and a blood pressure cuff, or what your blood pressure normally runs. You can check out your own metabolic health right then and there, and then take that download and take it to your doctor and have a conversation. I have my Ozempic Uncovered 4-part video series that you can listen to, where I just educate you about some of the data you're probably not hearing about these peptides and all of the awesome ways that I think that they are have potential to be utilized, which is very exciting. And those are the main things. Or you can just click on the contact us, and there is a place where you can either, if you want to request me to be on your podcast, you can fill it out there. If you are interested to hear what I've got coming down the chute, I spent years, almost a decade, coaching doctors in marketing and online marketing, and I will take you through how I go about this whole machine that you see, because there's a lot more to this. I'm not just an Instagram influencer, and I don't just have a YouTube, or I don't just have a podcast. I have an email list and I know how to use it, because that's the one place where we can communicate with people. I see a lot of influencers just growing their Instagram and they are not diversified, or maybe they have other platforms as well, but they don't have an email list. And truthfully, if I didn't have an email list and I didn't have this podcast, I would have been terrified when that Instagram went down. But I was like, okay, I'll reroute because I have other assets. I have other ways to reach my audience. And that email list, again, is that one place that is not censorable. And it is my true, it's like direct to you. I can email you guys and tell you what's going on, which I was able to do during the course of I think it was 11 days that it was down. I don't know what happened. I will say I reached out to my mother-in-law, who I swear has a direct link to God. That woman knows how to pray. And I asked her to please bring it to her church community and to just pray for my safety and well-being, because I didn't know what was going on and I was a little bit concerned. A couple things happened that made me suspect that this was a real targeting situation, and I was just concerned. And so she prayed, and while she prayed, I called in every favor I had to anybody who might know someone to just, again, more than anything, I was just interested in having a conversation with somebody who could tell me what the heck was going on, because I just didn't know. I still would like to know what happened. I don't know. About 10 or 11 days in, my Instagram came back up. I got an email that said, we made a mistake and you did not break these community guidelines and you can have your account back, which I am grateful for. I lost a lot of hair during that 10 days. No joke. My hair's still falling out. I took a shower last night and there was just clumps of hair in the drain from all the stress. So it's just insane that this can happen, right? And the injustice that you feel of it is overwhelming. And I know a lot of you were pissed too. A lot of you reached out to me and were just fired up. And a lot of you I know reached out in any way you could and shared that you felt that this account had been taken down unfairly. And I appreciate every single one of you. You guys rushed over to my Dr. Tina Show account, and I think I grew by like 10,000 pretty quickly there as well. You guys rushed onto my email list. It really, thank you. Like, it really shows me that you guys were interested in staying in touch with me and hearing from me and hearing the truth as I know it being shared with you. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, any of these platforms can go down at any time. I still don't know what I did. I do think, though, that there's some conversation around GLP-1s that I'm not going to be having anymore on these platforms. And so I'm glad that you guys were able to get the information you've gotten that way. From now on, it's going to be probably some content inside my email list, and then more importantly, inside my course. You know, the paid program I have is beefy and awesome, and it is nearly complete, and people are really giving me some great feedback about it. They are finding it to be incredibly informative. It is designed for clinicians and healthcare professionals, but as of now, I'm letting the general public in. We are talking about changing that, though, in the near future. So, and I don't know. I mean, we're looking at everything. We're trying to keep me safe at the end of the day. So we might close that up to the general public and just make it for practitioners only, and then launch a secondary program, which won't be nearly as beefy. So if you are interested or you've been on the fence, and I'm not saying this as a sales spiel, but if you've been on the fence to buy this, I highly encourage you to do it, because the price will be going up and we will very likely be converting it to a practitioners only program. So if you've been interested and you want to know the comprehensive approach that I take to optimizing a patient's metabolic health and really understanding why I think it's imperative, especially as we age, that we consider bioidentical hormone replacement, and how I utilize different peptides more than just the one. There's discussion of others in there as well. And, you know, really how I look at a patient comprehensively, and I bring them back to the homeostasis of metabolic health, which is, I think, at the end of the day, our only real defense against anything that's coming, right, is our health. And how do we keep that optimized? I was just at Oktoberfest at Mount Angel, Oregon, Oktoberfest. It's awesome. If you guys have never been, it's awesome. It's like a 4-day Bavarian festival, and I had never been, and I had always kind of lived far from Mount Angel, but now I live closer, so there was no excuse, and I went, and I actually went 3 times this weekend. It was so much fun. I went the first day with my little dog and my husband, but my dog, Murphy, he didn't like that so much, so it was a little overwhelming. So I went back the second day with just my husband, because then we could go into the big beer gardens where the bands were playing and we could see, you know, the entertainment, which was so much fun. And kids are allowed in there too. And it's just it's a lot of fun, and they're all different and cool. And then I went back today with my daughter, who had never been, and she had such a good time. We had so much fun. And so it was just she and I wandering around, and it just really struck me how compromised everybody's metabolic health is. Every time I go out in public to these public events, or even just go to Costco, to be honest with you, it's really striking how compromised people's metabolic health is. And it bums me out. It really bums me out, you guys, because when your metabolic health is compromised and your insulin signaling is off, your whole immune system is off. And I just did a podcast last week about this. You can listen to, or a couple weeks ago, I can't remember. It was just my common sense approach to upper respiratory season. And the bottom line is we've got to be metabolically sound. I have a inexpensive course called the Metabolic Revamp Toolkit. You guys can grab that on my website, or we'll put the link in the show notes. That's a great way to get started if you don't know where to start. And I highly encourage everybody to grab it. It's very simple. And if you're a longtime listener to the show, you probably heard me say all those things before. I've just put them all in one place so you can just go through the 20-some page ebook. There's different guides, there's different cheat sheets and toolkits in there. And it's a great starting point, or it's just a great reminder for a lot of you. And for those of you wondering my thoughts around sugar and different types of sugar and different types of sweeteners, I talk about it in there. If you're wondering about my thoughts around different types of fats and oils, I talk about it in there. It's all in there. And there's also a guide to measuring your waist circumference. And, just for those who need it, it's a really great jump off point. But some of you guys are experts and way beyond that, and you don't need it. And hurrah, and you just stay in the course, keep doing what you're doing. But if you do need it, then it's there for you, because I just think it's so absolutely critical that people understand this. And I don't think they know. And I think what got me the hardest walking around Oktoberfest was all these grandmas that you could see were so important to the grandchildren and these little grandchildren. Everybody was in lederhosen and in the dresses and everything. Like, it was great. It was so much fun. And it broke my heart to see some of these grandmas having such a hard time getting around, or they were in carts, or they were in walkers, and they weren't that old. But what happens when you're so severely metabolically compromised for a long period of time is that your joints start to wear out very quickly. And if you're also, ladies, please heed my warning. I've said this so many times. And if you're hearing this for the first time, go get your hormones assessed by somebody who knows what they're doing. Your GP is not going to probably help you with this. Go find someone who can help you. It's worth the investment. Find someone who's willing to work with you on bioidentical hormone replacement and get started sooner than later. All the data that I'm finding really adds up to the storyline being, if you need estrogen and it starts to wane, the impacts on the brain, the impacts on the joints, the impacts on our adipose tissue, our fat tissue, the impacts on our metabolism, the impacts on our insulin sensitivity, all of that is so much easier to have the estrogen work in our favor if we do it early, before we're completely dead long into menopause. If we wait until we are way past menopause, estrogen might actually be deleterious to our health. It might actually do the opposite of what we want. For instance, in a healthy, metabolically sound body, early estrogen is helpful and protective to the cardiovascular system. But once somebody has gone further down post-menopausally, and perhaps going into that, once your estrogen drops, you become insulin resistant, goes into that pipeline and comes out, the other side of it, really metabolically compromised, maybe packing on, significant extra weight. Estrogen can cause your vessels to vasoconstrict. This is where we get the concerns around cardiovascular disease and blood clots. Estrogen can do all kinds of wonderful things to help us with our fat distribution when we take it early. But later, if we've already got a lot of excess weight on us, estrogen just starts acting aberrantly. It's been my clinical experience. It's much, much harder to apply estrogen to somebody who's postmenopausal, has been void of estrogen for years because her ovaries went offline years ago, and is now dealing with the impacts of that low estrogen. Trying to apply estrogen to that body is much more of a moving target than if we can grab her over here. Well, there's still some estrogen on board. So it's a much longer story than this, and I'll write a book about it someday, I promise you. But just trust me on this one. Get on that sooner than later. Get on the metabolic health tips sooner than later. The second you start seeing your waistline start to expand, you are looking at some level of insulin resistance, and it's just going to get worse, right? You're just going to progress from there further down that path, especially the ladies, men too. And I'm a big fan of applying testosterone early as well to men who need it as they're going through andropause. So we're talking just physiologic levels of hormone replacement that can make such a difference. And While I look in the mirror lately and I think I look like a haggard mess, like I said, my hair's falling out. I've got new wrinkles. The stress of all this has been a lot. I still hear from people, gosh, you look so great for your age. You look so great. And I'm telling you, it's because I've utilized BHRT like for 15 years, probably at this point, at least my early to mid 30s. I've been using HRT, tiny levels, to keep myself steady. And there's new data to show that we have significant aging drops around age 44 and around age 60, meaning we just go through this. We don't age linearly. We just have this significant aging event around 44 and then again around 60. Mine wasn't around 44. Mine was around 47, 48. I aged significantly, and I was chalking it up to excess stress. But I'll tell you what was happening. I was utilizing estrogen topically, and it just wasn't absorbing the way I needed it to. In the past, that had been enough, but it just wasn't cutting it. And even though my labs looked okay, I treat based on symptoms, and I follow up with labs. And my symptoms were screaming estrogen deficiency. So I just started using a patch, and it's been really life-changing. So I'll keep you updated on that, and I'll share more about that later in upcoming episodes. And again, I swear I'm going to write a book. But this is the triad: strength training, non-negotiable; HRT, in my opinion, non-negotiable. And this is where I think GLP-1s come in and are such a beautiful harmonizing tool in our tool belt to really help the menopausal woman, perimenopause into postmenopause. I don't think of them as significant different groups of women. You're on the way, right? You're on the spectrum of it. It's the spectrum of menopause where here you're starting to have your hormones wane and you're starting to feel it, but that might look different for everyone. For me, it was significant brain fog. It was significant joint dysfunction and joint pain. It was chronic injuries because estrogen makes you juicy and stretchy, and I was starting to rip and tear. It was muscle loss. It was a whole lot of things. And so we can't, you can't just take one hormone and hope for the best. You got to be using them all, in my opinion, as an orchestra. We utilize all the hormones that we need, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And it's all different for each person. That's why you find somebody that you can work with and trust. And that's probably going to be out of pocket, and you might have to travel for it. This is not something your GP's probably going to be offering to you, because most of them are not well-versed in this. But I've been utilizing hormone replacement therapy for decades in my clinical practice, and utilizing it myself for nearly 2 decades personally, and it's made a huge difference. So there's the pearl. As for stress reduction, I'm open to suggestions, but I think at a certain point we can try to mitigate our stress as best we can, but there's going to be stressors around us we don't always have control over, right? So there's just going to be things that happen in our lives, and we've got to be able to roll with the punches. I think I did a pretty good job in the last few weeks. Probably had too many glasses of wine. Did lose some sleep, definitely, because that cortisol surge that happens at 3 a.m. where you feel like the bear is chasing you because, your cortisol is all over the place because you're so stressed out. But I think I did pretty good, all things considered. Hopefully the hair loss stops because that's been a real bummer. I was just getting to a place where my hair was stopping falling out. I think part of that was the low estrogen, but my skin's feeling better, though, is my point. My skin's looking better, feeling better. I use a topical estriol cream, and I use an estradiol patch, and I think my skin's hopefully coming back around. But in the attempt to mitigate my stress, mindfulness, taking lots of walks, probably would say it's fair to say I was unable to work out. I was quite unable to work out. Anything high intensity, I was just dizzy. My poor adrenals were shot to hell. And so I couldn't get up any kind of level of intensity without feeling like I was just going to pass out. Even strength training was hard. I tried lifting what normally is really light for me, and it felt so freaking heavy. And I was like, oh, okay, my adrenals are shot. So just really lightweight, just movement more than anything. Movement, getting some tension on the body, getting some load on the body. I went to Pilates last week for the first time in a few weeks, and I just got my ass handed to me. So, I walk a good walk and talk, but I'm just like you guys. I mean, I get hammered with stress sometimes. So I try to honor my body in that. My sleep's feeling really good and back on track. A lot of relief getting my account back. So there's that. But I did want to share some of the tools I've been using. This combo, my Relax Tonic and my Chill Pill. I love these. I use them in combination. What I do is I take 2 of these and I chase it with a nice big glass of Relax Tonic. And there's just so many good things in both of these that calm my nervous system down. So I'll leave that up to you to check it out. You can check it out on the website and look at the ingredients and look at how they work. But those 2 things have saved my hide. The walks, like I said, just walking when I, didn't know what else to do, just kind of walking until I felt better. That's the best way I can describe it, right? And taking breaks. I mean, I had to go sit down in the field a few times, just like, whoop, I'm sitting down now because I'm dizzy. Almost like when you're sick, and you've heard me talk about that before, like go for walks when you're sick, because you got to get movement in. And sometimes you just got to sit down in the driveway, or you got to just sit down on the curb. I live out in the country, so sometimes you just got to sit down in the field, and spending a lot of connection with my dogs, like actually touching them, because the cool thing about dogs is they go outside and their feet are on the ground. They're earthing all the time. And so they're grounding or earthing, whatever you want to call it. And they are gathering negative electrons from the earth and they bring them into you. So when you pet them and you cuddle them and you feel so good, that's because they're flooding you with negative electrons, which is so important for our overall health, our mitochondrial health. And I mean, there's data to support grounding and earthing. And so my dog sometimes will go earth for me when I can't, but I do try to sit on the porch and put my feet in the dirt or on the ground or wherever, the grass or even the little stepping stones, anything natural, any kind of natural, even sitting on the porch, the wood, touching the natural earth, just trying to spend time getting good circadian rhythm, light, dark cycles. I know this all sounds really boring, but this is how you mitigate your stress. This is, if you let the stress get you, you'll end up like staring at Netflix to the wee hours of the night, staring at your phone, getting way too much blue light, just artificial lights. Because when I don't feel good and my adrenals are shot, I have a hard time with sunlight. It really messes with my eyes. This is why many of you want to wear sunglasses, is because you probably need some adrenal support or something to help tonify that system, because it does play with your pupillary reflex. And I knew when I went out last week and the sun was too hot and it was too bright, I was like, oh, my poor adrenals. That's another favorite product I have in my line, is called Resilience. It's my favorite adrenal support. I've been taking a lot of that. And I've been taking doses I wouldn't suggest to most people just to keep me going. So that's been really, really helpful, is my Resilience on top of my Chill Pill and my Relax Tonic. And then just being really kind to my body. And the last thing that I did that I cannot emphasize enough is to rest when you need it. I took naps every single day. I was so tired, you guys. I was so tired from the stress of it that I just took a massive nap every day. And I know some of you are probably saying, oh, it's just your Instagram. I don't know why you're so stressed out. I run my business off of that account, and I am the head of household for 3 households in full. I employ all of my family, and I pay for a lot, and I take care of a lot of people. And so losing my Instagram, which is a big driver of my business. Yes, I have other platforms, and people say, oh, go to Rumble or go to, other platforms. That's not where all the people are. The people are on Instagram, unfortunately. And so that's the game I have to play. You got to go to the platforms where the people are. And so it was really stressful, because literally my first thought was, oh my God, how am I going to keep my family comfortable? Like, is everybody going to be okay? How am I going to pay my payroll? And I mean, I take care of everybody, right? Or, I mean, they help me, they work for it, and they help me, they take care of me too. But, I'm responsible financially. And so it just was a big blow. And so I slept a lot, not like a depressed kind of sleep, but like just legitimately taking the naps when you need the naps. And thankfully I work from home, so I can do that when I need to. And I canceled a lot of calls and appointments. Shoot, I feel terrible. I had a whole Friday booked out of appointments and calls and podcast recordings. I missed them all because I didn't even know what day of the week it was. That's how spent I was. And then the day I got my account back, my adrenals I just crashed. I slept the entire day. I canceled everything I had scheduled for the rest of the afternoon. And I slept the whole day. I slept 10 and a half hours that night, and I slept the whole next day. And that was just a few days ago. So I've been pretty low key. And that's why I kept going to Oktoberfest, because everybody was happy there and everybody was kind. It's such a cute event because the whole community comes together, and that's who works it. So it's all volunteers for the most part, hardly any paid people. It's all volunteers. Everybody's just happy. And there's all these cute little old people like running the ice cream and the pretzel stand, and it just was really great. So that was refreshing, and everybody was happy and kind, and the weather was great. So I was like, okay, I'll be outside. I'll be around happy people. I can't even say enough for happy people, and just moving, walking. And so which brings me to, I guess my last point is like, get with your community, get with your people. I had so many of you guys reach out to me. So many of my friends reached out and rallied and just checked in with me and checked in about my mental health every day and made sure I was okay. And it was really incredible. So I see you all. I'm grateful for you all. You know who you are. All of you who helped me, all of you who checked in with me, all of you who asked me, what could you do? How could you help? Complete strangers asking me that. It was so much kindness came my way and support. So it just reminds me that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing. And the cutest thing was, today it did not happen, but the other 2 days that I was at Oktoberfest, somebody recognized me, like a follower was like, "Are you Dr. Tina?" And that happens really frequently now. And it used to freak me out, but it makes me realize that what I'm doing, I'm going to cry, because sometimes I just feel like I've been sitting here for years trying to bring you guys helpful information and getting my ass handed to me for it. And I just stare out at this field that I'm staring at right now as the sun's setting. And it's this big, beautiful field. It's green right now, but a good portion of the year, it turns into a big brown mud field. And it's so depressing to look at. And I just sit here and try to crank out content that is meaningful and helpful, because I don't want to blow a bunch of steam up anyone's ass. I want to give you guys information that's helpful, that you can use, not just buy stuff sometimes it's helpful to know what products I like and that are helping me and that are useful, but also like, how can you just hone your resilience and know that you're supported? And I try to support you guys in that journey, because we all need someone to, but whether it's to be our cheerleader or give us a swift kick in the ass, that's what I'm here for. And it's really cool when people come up to me and they acknowledge me and they know that they tell me how, that I've done something that's been meaningful to them. So that's awesome. And I thank you guys for it. So that's it. I didn't have a script for you. I didn't have anything laid out that I was some big, epiphany or some study I was going to go through. I know that so many of you have been asking and wanted to know, so I thought I would just lay it out here on this episode, and hopefully something in here is helpful. Who knows what it is, but I'm hoping that something hits someone the right way to either help them take action, make them feel not so alone, or give them a reason to maybe just go take a nap when they need it. That's what it's about, right? Take care of yourselves. We're walking into winter, you guys. Go listen to the episode I did about the common sense approach to upper respiratory season that I did. I don't know if it was my last episode or the one before that. We'll link it in the show notes because it's really helpful. I really want you guys to hone your resilience. This is the time, this is the season where I and my family build our health and our resilience to go into winter so that we're well prepared for whatever may come, because there's always something, and I want to make sure we all get through it together and we all get through it as healthy as possible. And I'm here for you guys. So lots of content in the podcast that's helpful. Go back. There's 100 something episodes, and I'm sure there's something in there for everyone, whether it's hormones, metabolic health, strength training, resilience, you name it, there's something in there for you. So go back and check it out. And as always, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for rallying for me. It means the world to me. And thank you for being a listener to the show. Get on my email list, go to drtina.com, find a way on there to put your name and email in so that you're on my email list. And let's get that list growing so that I can keep communication open with you no matter what comes our way. Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to The Dr. Tina Show. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and mixed by Mike Fry. Theme song is by John the Guild. You can watch the full video version of this podcast inside the Spotify app or on YouTube. As always, you can email the podcast at podcast@drtina.com. That's DRTYNA. And if you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find all of my offerings on my website at drtina.com. For more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com. See you next time, and thanks for listening. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practices of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content on this podcast is intended not to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.